There's really no greater or more important subject in life than the subject of happiness. In fact, if you look at your own motivations and the motivations really of everyone you know, you realize that there are two fundamental reasons why people act the way that they do. They're seeking happiness and they're seeking to escape pain. When I was a little child, really the only desire I had in life was to be happy. But it was amazing to me, even then, but especially in retrospect, that almost no one ever really talked to me about happiness in the fundamental way that I intuitively knew it should be discussed. You go to college, you get a job, you get married, you have children, you get money, you get success. The implication was that if you added all these external things onto your life, that somehow they would create that fundamental fulfillment, which is the reason that you were doing them all in the first place. Even as a little child, I was always a little suspicious of this plan, which left me in a very awkward spot, because I had all the capacity and every opportunity to follow down that track and do exactly what everyone was telling me was the thing I ought to do. But because I couldn't quite believe that it was really going to work, I felt myself, the only word I can use is slightly paralyzed, because it was like I could see the end of the road, and the end of the road was not a place I really wanted to be. I wanted to be in myself, in that state of consciousness, a word I learned later, to have that happiness within myself. And only when I began to awaken spiritually, which was not part of my upbringing, but by the grace of God came to me fairly early in life, when I began to awaken to the possibility of inner realities. I didn't come first to any religious idea at all. In fact, I would say even now my attitude is spiritual more than related to any particular dogma or external form. But when I began to awaken to the possibility of inner transformation, I began to realize that my initial intuition had been right, that there really is a way to be within yourself, and from that inner state of being, then to relate to money, to home, to relationships, to everything else that can be added onto it. But if that inner state of consciousness is right, then everything falls into place. And if that inner state of consciousness is not balanced and focused on that which is truly meaningful, then no matter how many accoutrements you pile upon yourself, there will always be that inner discontent. That's why we have this simple idea, which is a principle of life, twofold. One, joy is within you. That the happiness we seek is really a state of consciousness that we ourselves can discover and deliberately, step by step, can develop. Certain attitudes, certain actions, certain practices are the happiness producing, the finding happiness ways of life. Oh, how I wish when I was a child somebody had just taught me that, instead of the capital of Brazil or the primary product of the state of Ohio. Finding happiness, that's what we're really seeking. And once I began to understand, once a person begins to understand that what we are seeking is within us, and the only place it can ever be found is within us, we realize the truth of this simple but powerful principle. Change yourself and your whole world changes. Then the question obviously is how. But once you ask the right question, the answer is not nearly so difficult to discover. How do I change myself? How do I bring myself into that right state of consciousness? Well, first of all, by understanding that no matter what is going on in the world around you, that is not only your primary responsibility, but your only responsibility. Because when you take care of your inner reality, your outer reality automatically follows whatever channel you are carving for yourself inwardly. And the marvelous truth about this is It's not an all or nothing proposition. It's not like you go from darkness, from total darkness to total light, meaning every step you take, no matter how small, begins to expand both your capacity and your experience of happiness, so that the journey itself is also the goal, and that finding happiness soon becomes a way of life.